everyone, it's me, Cody again. I'm here to teach you a lesson on character motives. Our target for today is I can use character motives to drive the plot. I use the mentor text, Those Shoes. I know it's a picture book, but sometimes picture books are great genres to help us develop our writing and our personal narratives. And they're really relatable, especially because most of the times they are stories that have taken place before in your own life or someone that you can relate to. So they're really easy and help us guide us. So if you watch that video, it'll help you in this lesson. I have connected it to the Google Classroom. You can watch the read aloud on that, as well as I'm pretty sure you can download it and read the book too. So those are great ways. But we're going to be using that book throughout this lesson, and we're going to use character motives to drive your plot. So now that you have all these amazing ideas in your head or in your writer's journal for your narrative, and some of you have already posted in the Google Classroom, which I started to read, and they're amazing, you might be asking yourself, where's this story going? What is the point I'm trying to get across? And what does my character want, need, or desire? I know that when I was writing my personal narrative, it was very hard for me to think about these things as I was writing, and then after I read it, I thought to myself, it doesn't really flow the way I wanted it to, and it doesn't really get my point across. So what can I do to really get that point and have the plot flow with my character's motives? So in this lesson, hopefully I can help you figure out how to better do that in your own narrative, as well as I know I did in mine. So what is plot? I myself, as a college student, struggled with the language that we use for plot, and I know that this diagram here is something that some of you might have seen before, or something that a lot of teachers use when they teach narratives or how to write stories. And I just want to bring it back up because even though it is very cliche, it does have all of the words that are associated with plot, and it kind of helps you to imagine your story through this lens. So the exposition or the introduction is a really big part of your story. I know a lot of you I saw in your narratives have really good starts to your stories. The rising action going up, the climax where things are starting to really happen here, the falling action where they're coming back down, and then the resolution of what's going on. I know throughout the book, Those Shoes, I have it right in front of me right here as well, it really does a good job at showing this plot structure using what the character really wanted in the story, and I can't wait to show you how to use that in your writing today. So one of the strategies that you can use as a writer is a somebody wanted but so then chart. And I put this chart in here, and it's not the way that I'll connect it to your Google Classroom, but in Google Classroom I'll give you a chart that you can use for your own writing. But this strategy is something that a lot of writers use to think about their character and what they want and where their story is going to go following that plot line that we just talked about. So in the book, Those Shoes, the main character is Jeremy. And Jeremy and I would say maybe his grandmother were some big characters in there. But really, really focusing on Jeremy. And if you read what Jeremy wanted these pair of black shoes. So let me change the font for that really quick. He really wanted the shoes, the black striped shoes that were in the book, and he would do anything about it. The beginning said he dreamed about these shoes. So wanted the black striped shoes. And he would go through the story and he dreamed about it. He told about how all the other kids had it, but there was a problem. So we kind of have our exposition here where we started with the introduction, the somebody, what he wanted, why he wanted it in the beginning of Those Shoes. And then it started to go back up to that rising action, okay? The rising action would be the problem. The problem in the story was Jeremy's family could not afford those shoes. And so throughout this rising action, it talks about the different ways that the grandmother and Jeremy try to solve the problem. So as they try to solve this problem in the rising action, they are going around and trying to find a pair of those shoes that they can afford. There is a climax in the story where they find those shoes. They find those shoes and they're the price that his grandma can afford, but they don't fit. So the shoes don't fit at this time. And it was really hard for Jeremy to overcome that feeling of he really, really wanted those shoes. And at the top, he found these shoes and it was the best thing ever. And he thought his problem was solved, but they didn't fit. And that was really the climax in the story there. And then the falling was how the problem was solved, is they didn't fit. And Jeremy started to get over the fact that he wanted those shoes. So Jeremy started to get over the fact that he wanted those shoes and realized really at this point that he needed to do something for somebody else. So he realized that he wanted to be kind to another student. So this was kind of the falling part of the plot. Let me go back to our plot. Yes, the falling action of our story was, Jeremy really realized that these shoes were not going to fit him, and he got over his problem and he continued to think of the other people. If you go back in the book, the page talks about how when he realizes they don't fit, I'm going in the book right now, so if you guys can go on the video or you can listen in, he saw another student who didn't have those shoes and he thought about it all night. That night I am awake for a long time thinking about Antonio, the other student who didn't have good fitting shoes. When morning comes, I try on my shoes one last time, the shoes that he really wanted that didn't fit. Before I can change my mind, the shoes are in my coat. Snow is beginning to fall as I run across the street to Antonio's apartment. I put those shoes in front of his door, push the doorbell, and run. At school, Antonio is smiling big in his brand new shoes. I feel happy when I look at his face and mad when I look at Mr. Alfrey's shoes, which was the teacher who gave him the shoes that didn't fit him. But later, when it's time for recess, something happens. Everywhere there is snow. Leave your shoes in the hall and change into your boots, the teacher announces. Leave your shoes in the hall. It's then I remember what I have in my backpack. New boots. New black boots that no kid has ever worn before. Standing in line to go to recess, Antonio leans forward and says thanks. I smile and give him a nudge. So at that point, going back to what our character wanted, this was really the resolution of the story. He found out that his shoes would not fit him, so he gave them to another student, and then he realized that he had new black shoes, and he made a new friend, and he wasn't feeling like he wanted those shoes anymore. So if you notice throughout the story, they took what Jeremy wanted, needed, desired, and used that to help drive where their story was going. So that's why having a somebody wanted but so then chart for your writing might help you to guide where your story's going and have that question of, okay, now I know where I need to go, this is what I need to do, and these are what I'm going to include in my writing. So how do I use this in my own narrative? You know, when I started writing my own narrative, I just wrote it without doing that, and I reread it and was like, okay, I don't really know what I wanted out of this story. I don't really know where I was headed. But once I revised it and I went back, I used the somebody wanted but so then template to draft out my own character's motives. And then I went back into my story and made sure that I had that plotline flow of what my character wanted and use that every single time to guide me in that point. So use those motives to guide you in your plot line, and then you'll notice. So I said you'll notice the magical flow. You'll really notice how your character and what they want, need, or desire gives your story life. You don't have a flat story of just this is what I did and that was it. It's really giving you that climax to the point where someone wants to read your writing and it's interesting for that reason. So I will attach the somebody wanted so but then graphic organizer to the Google Classroom, as well as the read aloud of those shoes so that you can listen to it and try it in yourself. And maybe if you are feeling up to it, you can try to draft out your own somebody wanted but so then to help you further engage in your personal narrative. And I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So thank you so much for watching this lesson. If you have any questions about that, please let me know or leave it in the comments and I can help you with that. Thank you so much. Bye.